I once read a story of a starving little fox that found her way to a good man's farm. Hungry, but scared to death, she refused to take the egg the good man left for her each day. After watching the good man for some time, the little fox finally began to taste the egg he offered. At first, she would only take the egg out in the field after the good man walked away. But day by day, the good man drew her closer and closer to his home, until in great trust, she finally accepted the egg from his hand. I wasn't a believer when I first read the fox story, but I grew up on a farm and knew about foxes. Egg thieves, chicken eaters, life stealers. Much like the way I lived as a young adult, prowling the edges of grace, thieving it the way we all do before we finally accept it from God's hand. But during those years, I longed to go home, to return to God and to the farm, a starving little fox so hungry for grace. After leaving the military life, we moved to our farm, an old fallen-down almond orchard in Northern California near the Sacramento River, where fruit and nuts grow in abundance. My parents, who lived nearby in the Sutter Buttes, the smallest mountain range in the world, had almonds, but we didn't want to farm those. My brother, who owned the land beside us, was set on putting in walnuts and stone fruit, primarily peaches like our grandparents had grown. After 15 years in the Army, my husband Scott had become a high school history teacher. I was determined to be a writer, not a farmer, but the California land in my blood called my name, had been calling me home since I had left decades earlier for Reno, Nevada. Then came marriage to my military man. I followed my husband across a continent or two. Now it felt good to finally settle down and begin our life back home on a quiet country road. Once we cleared off the old almond trees in our front pasture, we put horses out there to graze. We had just moved into the house we built, and our living room windows looked over this beautiful field. Several weeks before Easter, a little red fox moved into the pasture with the horses. Early each morning while I sat and read my Bible, I watched her make her rounds, drinking out of the water tank and hunting squirrels under several old almond trees we'd left shade for the horses. The fox appeared undernourished, and I remembered the fox story of the good man feeding his fox the eggs. So after our annual Easter egg hunt that year, I gathered up all the leftover hard-boiled eggs, and every day I dropped several near her den, a large hole in the ground. Pretty soon she grew used to me, and instead of running away when I stepped onto our porch, she waited under the almond tree near her hole, watching me. In the beginning, she wouldn't touch the Easter eggs, but slowly they became her daily meal. At dawn one day, as I was boiling eggs about a month into this, I watched her carry what I thought was a cottontail to her den. Good for my little fox, I decided. She's feeding herself now. I won't have to keep making her eggs, though I'd gotten quite attached to caring for her. Within a half an hour, I noticed her crossing the field again with another little rabbit in her mouth. Savoring my coffee, I stared out the window at the little fox's comings and goings. Watch her closely, the Lord whispered to my heart. Again, she trotted through the grass to a distant place and returned in a short while with another furry ball between her teeth. The sun had now risen above the hills beyond our pasture, pinkening the sky, washing light and warmth over the dew-covered grass. To my utter astonishment, when she came out of her hole, trailing her were 4 little kits, tumbling over each other. What I thought had been bunnies were really baby foxes. She trusts you now, and she's proving that trust by bringing her little ones under your care, the Lord expressed to me in that moment. Just like you are learning to trust me, learning that trust comes with time, and the hand of grace that feeds you is tender. You see, I was about to undergo a tumultuous passage. My past would have to be plowed before my future could be planted. Above all, I would need to trust the ultimate farmer, God, trust being the first step of every journey.